Hello and welcome to another edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joel Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and each week it is my pleasure to get to sit down with some of our alumni. I talk to them about what they're doing today. We talk a little bit about how the program helped them get there, and we talk some about what the future holds for them. Today, my guest was a student of mine in 2020 in a media promotions class, back when we were all masked up. She sat over there in the right corner of my classroom, and she always was energetic. She was always enthusiastic. She was always prepared. And even though her face was half covered, I could tell she was always smiling. Meet Amber Soucier. Amber graduated with a degree in communication studies from the University of Central Missouri, and she is now in a leadership development program at RTX, which is an aviation and aerospace component manufacturer in Arlington, Virginia. Amber, great to see you. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. I am doing so well, and I'm so excited to be here today and talk a little bit about my experiences and how UCM was like the very important catalyst to where my life is now and where it's going.
Well, we were so glad to have you here, even if it was just for a short amount of time. I know, you moved back east. I think you're from out east. So I talked a little bit about what you're doing now. Share with us what brought you to UCM. Give us a little bit of your backstory.
Absolutely. So I was lucky enough to end up in Missouri. I'm a little bit of a traveler, or I should say, more was a little bit of a traveler and just kind of moving around. I got my associate's degree online. And when I ended up 10 minutes from the University of Central Missouri, I said, well, I'm just going to apply and see what happens. I ended up getting in, and it was looking back, the best thing that I could have done. So I want to say that it was really fate and just kind of a good luck that brought me right to UCM's doorstep. And I'm so happy that it did.
Now, you were from back out east, right?
Yes, yep. So I grew up in Connecticut, and I left when I was 18 and I moved to Texas. I packed up my car and I said, this is where my life's going to be. I'm going to travel. So I went to Texas by myself and then ended up going up to upstate New York for a bit and then landed in Missouri. I got really lucky with the pre-COVID housing prices
Yeah.
when I got there, and I had my own little farm and I loved it. It was cheap, it was rural, it was just a beautiful location.
Yeah, you talk about you had your own little farm. You still have horses and lots of dogs.
Yes, yes, Joe, I do. Not as many dogs, but all of the cats are still here. A few dogs passed away, so there's three
Oh,
now versus six. And I still have all three of my horses. So they got shipped up to Connecticut when I did.
well, I would hope so. That
Yes.
had to be a little bit pricey, but I'm glad they got to come with you.
Yes, it was in the middle of the night. A big truck came with a huge trailer. I've never seen something so big. And yeah, you loaded them all up, said goodbye, and the next week sold the house and packed everything up and left.
So you were here getting your comm studies degree, and I remember every time I turned around after I had you in class, got to know you in class, I was like, wow, this girl is really she's energetic, she's excited about life, and just really about being here. And then every time after that, I turned around, you were in some new leadership role. You were heading up something. Tell us about some of your experiences and what all you did while you were at UCM aside from being a student.
Yeah, so I love to get involved, and I am kind of the mindset of you have one chance to make things happen. You have one chance to do something, in certain parts of your life. So I have just have my resume pulled up here, and there was a few different things. So the biggest thing I would say that I was a part of was the American Marketing Association at UCM, and so I did a couple of different roles there, but I was the president for a bit while the president was taking I think it was a medical leave of some sort. So I really loved that. I worked a lot with member acquisition and retention, and it was really cool to there was some sort of national plan that I had to, or an annual report that I had to turn into the national office, which was it was really interesting to be able to do that and kind of put my name on something like that. I also was in the National Society of Leadership and Success, NSLS. That was just the best. It was the most amazing club at UCM. I got so much out of that. I know we did community service events and leadership modules, and yeah. And then, of course, there's a lot of volunteering. So I would say those are the two main clubs that I was a part of, on top of just kind of dipping my toes in a little bit everywhere I could.
We talk a lot about at the university, we talk a lot about getting involved because you can learn it in the classroom. You can learn the techniques and the skills in the classroom, but you have to go practice them. And, I was a digital media production professor. And so, we would talk about radio. Well, we have a radio station. We would talk about television. Well, we have KMOS, our PBS affiliate, and sports broadcasting and all those types of things. In communication studies, you kind of had to go out on a limb sometimes and get involved outside of the department. So, how did you find those opportunities?
You are so correct. I think that so many degrees lead right into something obvious. And even, if you want to get into TV, there's, like you said, we had the UCM TV station. Like there's things to do directly. Communications, especially, I'm not sure if it's the same way now, but I know there were three options, three emphasis areas at UCM, and I chose relational, which I think is the most broad. It goes into everything, which is a blessing and a curse all at the same time. So you really get to make the degree what you want it to be. And for me, I found that I really wanted to be a leader and I really loved working with teams and I wanted to develop myself in that way. I also found that, the American Marketing Association just led right into communications. And because I had never done marketing before, I said, this sounds like a great group to kind of get that experience. So I would say for anybody who's in communications, really look at the options that UCM has to offer because you can put your degree to use anywhere, like in almost any club. I might even be able to make the argument of any club, like communications will be helpful. And I just say, go out and do it. Just try something. You don't have to commit to everything, but just go out and try because it's worth it.
Well, and then when you got done with your undergrad, I know you wanted to go back out east. You applied to some graduate schools, to some very prestigious graduate schools, and you ended up at Johns Hopkins, one of the most prestigious schools in the country. When you got there, did you feel overwhelmed? I mean, you're at this big school out east, this one that's really world known, coming from Little University of Central Missouri, or did you feel like you were prepared for it?
Honestly, I felt really stinking prepared. I can't really, look on the other side how I would feel if I came from another, top 10 university. But from the way my mind puts it together, I think there's nothing better than a small university where you get that really personal touch and your professors care about you. They know you. And I've always felt that way at UCM. And so when I look back on my experience, I don't think anything could have prepared me better. I think UCM gave me the foundation to be able to go out and find the opportunities that I wanted. Kind of like we talked about, the clubs, the groups, we had internships. And once you start doing those things, more things start falling in your lap because you're networking with people and they tap on your shoulder for, hey, I think you'd be good at this, or I think you'd like this club, or I think you should get involved here. And so when I went to Johns Hopkins, I think the biggest thing that I was unprepared for is the age. There was a big age gap between me and all of my peers. I'd say that in my experience in the organizational leadership master's degree, it was mostly, 40s, 50s, parents with kids, people who have been in leadership roles for a really long time. So I was unprepared for that because for some reason I thought, oh, there's going to be a lot of, mid 20-year-olds there. That's wrong. But it was an amazing experience. And yeah, UCM was phenomenal. I felt 100% prepared.
Well, I'm glad you were, and it looks like you held your own against those 35, 40-year-old parents that were doing it because you're now in a leadership development program at RTX. Tell us about that.
Yes. Yeah, so RTX, formerly known as Raytheon Technologies, we're the largest leadership, or I'm sorry, we're the largest aerospace and defense company in the world. So we have two sectors of our business. We have commercial and then we have defense. And being in communications, I have found it to be a phenomenal program. So you get to work communications for both the commercial side, which is, working a lot with airports and our engines that we create, and then also the defense side, which is working a lot with our military. And so it's been very interesting. You get a lot of experience, and it is a 2 year, 3 month, or 8 month, three rotations. And you get to be in a little bit of a different role every rotation. And it's funny because they say, right as you're getting it, right as you're getting good at your job, you're moving. Like that's it. So you're moving to something else, you're doing something else. And I'm really lucky to work remote. And when I say remote, I use that term loosely because I do go into office sometimes and I travel a lot. So this is a big traveling for work type of role. And yeah, it's the best possible thing that I could have done for myself for the career trajectory that I want personally.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it. I love it so much. I am meeting so many people within the role. The networking is just incredible. The traveling, I've never traveled for work before, and even filling out my first expense report was exciting. Like, wow, I got my whole last week was free. Like I got to do all this stuff for free. So it's really cool to be a part of a company that really cares about its employees, and they are investing so much money in every LDP, Leadership Development Program associate. They're investing so much money in all of us to really get the skills that we need to then off place at the end of those years into a permanent role with experience from kind of a little bit of everywhere in the business.
So what's next for Amber Soucier?
Yeah, so I am about to go into my third rotation
Oh, so you're
next
almost
month.
done.
I'm almost done. Yes.
Okay.
And if we're looking at time wise, I should be done because I started so much earlier than the rest of my class because I was in a little bit of a weird situation. I interned at Pratt and Whitney, which RTX owns, and there was a 5 month gap. So they ended up having me start early, but that's a story for another time. So anyway, I've been here for a long time, and I am not sure of my next rotation yet. I haven't gotten confirmation, but it looks like I will probably be going into the defense sector and supporting either Collins Aerospace or Raytheon, which is really exciting for me. And after that, I know I'm going to off place. I just don't know where, but so far I haven't found a job or a position that I don't like. So I think that I would just be really happy with anything and kind of seeing this point in my life as one that I'm just gaining experience and, I don't have to stay forever and it is what it is.
That's outstanding. Well, you have a bit of a unique story because
Yeah.
you just moved out here on your own, got your associate's degree, you decided you wanted to move on from there, and we were lucky enough to have you for a couple of years here at UCM, and then you head out east and go to a prestigious school, and now you're working for the big airlines and military and such, and it's an exciting life. It really sounds
Yeah.
amazing. We have some potential students. We have current students who might like to follow in Amber's footsteps. What advice would you give to a current UCM student? And what would you say to a student who's thinking about UCM?
Yeah, I would say for a current student is to just try everything. If you feel like you should do it, if there's a little like, just do it. It's worth it, and you have no idea what your actions, how they're going to change your future. Just signing up for, the NSLS chapter or doing something of the sort, it will dramatically increase your chances of kind of getting what you want later on down the line. I know for me, when I was applying for my master's, or actually it was a few months beforehand, I was, excuse the trucks going by, they're quite loud. Hopefully you don't hear them.
I don't hear a thing.
No, good. Okay. This computer's good then. But when I was applying, right before I was applying for the master's, I called and I was like, hey, I'm young and I know that this is an organizational leadership degree, where you're taught to lead organizations. How do I have a better chance of getting into this school for this degree?
That was
And
smart.
yes, yep. And I am so happy that I did. And that's when they told me leadership. They want to see leadership on my resume. And at that point, I didn't have any. So that's when I started joining all the clubs. So having that one question spurred me to join a club, which then spurred me to join another and then intern. And it just kind of was that, step-by-step process that just kind of unfolded after that one question.
So you were you were thinking ahead then that,
yes.
Did you know you wanted to go to grad school, or were you just thinking, yeah, this might be the next step?
I knew I wanted to go to grad school because I wasn't sure of how my life was going to be if I ended in my bachelor's. So I was like, I don't really know what I want to do yet. I know I'm probably going to move again. I'm not, sure what to do. So I'm going to take the time and go to grad school. So yeah, the way you put it is really nice. Like thinking ahead would be my biggest kind of point to make, because if you do that, you're kind of securing your future. And just don't think poorly of yourself. I think that can get in the way of so many people. And if you think, like I shouldn't apply here because I don't have this or I don't have that, just do it, because the worst somebody can say is no. And I know that's so cliche and it's heard a lot, but it's true. Like it's a reason why people say it. It's true. The worst they can say is no. And one time you might get a yes, and that yes is going to take you so far. And in terms of students who are looking to join UCM, especially in the communications department, I say go for it. Like pedal to the metal, like just do it. It is the best university. I seriously, like honest to God, did not have one negative experience at that university. It was so supportive. It was so loving. Every single professor, even the students, I mean, it was just amazing. And I am so happy that I ended up in the little Midwest town of Warrensburg to be able to go there. And I would love, like when I have kids one day, to send them there and have them go to UCM and kind of follow in those footsteps, because that is how phenomenal I found the education and the support at the school.
Well, if they're anything like their mama, they are going to do just fine, and we'll be happy to have them. Amber, thank you. Thank you so much for being on today. We haven't got a chance to talk in a long time, so kind of finding out what you're doing now and the development program, that's just amazing. We're so proud of you. You have done some really amazing things.
Thank you so much. I seriously can thank it to UCM, thank it to professors like you, Joe. You were incredible. Just, one of the many who were so supportive at the university. And yeah, just so thank you all. You're amazing too.
Well, you made it easy. So again, thanks for being on today.
Of course. Thank you.
And thanks all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode each week on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. Again, this is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.